is Russell Wilson, and I'm sure if you're a sports fan, you've seen this clip already. At the end of his press conference, after he played like one of the 5 worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And it's hard to even get a sense of, I watched parts of this press conference, like he went on and answered questions like, hey, I'm Russell, and I'm going to go on and speak at length for minutes on end about, hey, we didn't do well on this down, and yeah, we got to get better as a unit, and it starts with me, and just, it was like the tone was exactly the same after any kind of loss. But no, this loss was different. And as he's leaving the podium, he literally, this is why I'm saying he's more brand than player at this point. He can't, it's like he has some sort of deal with the devil that if he doesn't say this, you know, his whole family dies. He goes, he says, and I'm sorry, Russell Wilson would probably be highly offended given how often he tweets about God that I say he has a deal with the devil. But I mean, tough shit, because you are acting like a bizarre person. He ended this press conference like this.
Keep believing in. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Broncos country. That's right.
I don't know if you heard that at the end. Keep going, Bradley. Let's play it again. The half-hearted "let's ride" as he's walking away from the podium.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Broncos country. That's right.
Let's ride. Yeah, dude. Look, he had issues with the locker room in Seattle and he won a Super Bowl with them. Imagine how those guys in that locker room feel with a guy that's not connected to them at all, who's not really taking much accountability for his play, who's making 240 million, whatever the contract is, millions and millions and millions of dollars, breaking records with his contract.
You don't think there's one person being like, Russ, like, you don't have to say Broncos country, let's ride after this game. Like, keep your powder dry, bro. Like, use it for when you win a good game. It sounds so deflating to hear a somber Broncos country, let's ride.
I mean,
it's so demoralizing.
At best, it's cringy because you know he like tested it with his team.
Yeah, I'm
because
sure it
he
was
used
a
to say
focus
"Go
group."
Hawks"
Yeah.
all the time, and at the time, his teammates would make fun of it. And you hear stories about how he's been preparing to be like a politician type or doing mock press conferences as a kid his whole life. This is not a human human way to present yourself to the media.
It's also emblematic to see and hear both former and current teammates react to certain things in this situation. Seeing Richard Sherman on the post-game broadcast after they called up a shotgun pass play on the last play of the game that got broken up by Stephon Gilmore on the Colts. And see Richard Sherman literally say, I am triggered by seeing that because of what happened to us in the Super Bowl. And literally, essentially, seemingly uncontrollably screaming during his recounting of what happened, being like, run the ball.
Yeah.
Run the ball.
I mean, he was putting it on a little. Like, I like Richard Sherman. He's a little corny himself.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
But I know.
But he's probably looking at that and being like, I was in that position where Russell trusted himself over the actually logical decision of just punching in a run play at the 1 yard line or at the goal line, essentially, as opposed to going from the gun and throwing into coverage, throwing against the former defensive player of the year cornerback on the Colts.
It's too generous to say trusting himself. His ego is so out of control that he thinks that he wants to be the hero of the story and he's going to force it no matter what.
And I'm sure that's probably what is going on, in the sense of maybe that also might be speaking to some of the impotence or the difficulty in decision making for Nathaniel Hackett, who before that play, I genuinely didn't think it was really. I didn't think he was calling a terrible game for the
No.
majority of it. Honestly,
I mean, he
there were
still
a few,
can't like find any rhythm in the run game.
but
And
what I found crazy about that was as we talked about a little bit.
you're right. At the end of that
at
game,
the end of the game,
yes.
to get them to where they were, they shot off 2 like 15+ yard runs with Melvin Gordon and Mike Boone, and after that, they just decided to not do it.
Yeah, well,
at the
who's
1 yard
making
line.
the call of the
Exactly.
line of scrimmage? We don't know that. We don't know.
That's it. That's it.
And the
right.
thing is that call worked at the last play of the game on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 or wherever, where Richard Sherman was triggered about that play. KJ Hamler was wide open.
He was wide.
He
wide
did
open.
not see him.
Right.
He didn't look his way.
He shook the corner who was on him. He was in the back right side of the end zone. There was not a defender 5 feet from him.
Yeah, well, that's why he like lost it.
And that was the other thing I was going to say is you see that in the sense of, there are moments obviously where you can kind of see how, these people are teammates. They're not only coworkers, but being a teammate in a professional league, you are essentially, you're traveling with them. You're living with them.
Yes.
You have some sort of symbiosis in that what you do affects them and the other way around. When a player reacts like that, obviously it's frustration. Like I've said before, they're professional competitors. This means everything to them. But
like all this training, years and years to for a guy like KJ Hamler, who's not top of the depth
was
chart,
out for the
decent,
season. Was out for the season his rookie year.
You live for your moment to be the hero in this situation, and you
Absolutely.
do all this training and all this work, and the guy that's making the most money on your entire team,
And who was the one to be the conduit to you having that moment? There's no way else he's going to get the ball.
No.
It has to come from the quarterback that you're supposed to trust. And so seeing his frustration, seeing his anger, I think that might have been a little almost cathartic in building up in not only Hamler, but maybe some of the other guys in this locker room. I know a lot of this is speculation, but it's not 1-to-1, but there was this moment there was this moment in the post game when Matt Amendola, the kicker for the Cardinals, missed the game tying or game winning field goal, and all of the press had kind of flocked around him to ask him questions about missing the field goal. And Justin Pugh, their offensive lineman, walked in and said, "It's messed up that you guys are only coming in here to talk to him. He was like, I missed a block. Kyler could have played better. We all could have played better.
Right.
It's not only on him. This is a team sport." I didn't see a whole lot of guys saying a whole lot of stuff about that with Russell.
Well,
Russell saying that about his
line,
teammates.
Well, yes, the offensive line and your guys will usually. If Josh Allen throws an interception at the end of the game, those guys are going to back him up and say he's our team. If Lamar Jackson makes a play that he didn't play his best football game last night, but you're not going to have guys, although they ended up winning, but you're not going to have guys blaming him in the locker room because he's one of them, and. And I mean, honestly, I think that we saw on Thursday night what what his teammates have been seeing for the 5 weeks leading up to this at this point. And it's inexcusable. This is a train wreck. And if I don't know how this gets fixed. I mean, he's got to start playing better, but I don't know if he's capable of it.
And like
or
what
can anymore.
And like what we were saying before, is what I feel I almost sympathize now. At first, obviously, with what happened the first few weeks of the season, I was attributing a lot of this back and forth and this lack of assuredness mostly to Hackett as a rookie coach who kind of seems to not be confident in what he's doing. However, when you see how Russ is on the ground and how he's really certainly lost a step, when you see how the most creativity he gets is kind of either from doing dump-off shovel passes or essentially jump passes over the line, and when you also see how even 4 or 5 weeks into the season, the offensive line is still not accustomed to his cadence, and they are sometimes false starting because they are not either hearing him correctly or he's not doing the same thing.
That's about not developing a relationship.
Right. He's not snapping the ball and he's not calling plays and the same way every time to the point where they are jumping the line. All of that is Russell. That's not Hackett's coaching. That's not Hackett's in-game decisions. That's Russell. And my concern with that is that the way to proverbially kind of give someone the axe in a situation like this, when a new ownership group has just come in, a new head coach, new franchise quarterback, you're not going to cut the guy whose contract is worth upwards of $260 million and who would have a $90 million dead cap hit next year if you were to do so, you're going to fire the coach.
Yeah.
And he honestly, after these 5 weeks, especially with how the defense has looked, which has looked pretty damn good given the circumstances, it's probably less his fault than it is Russell's.
Yes. I agree with you on that for sure.